I read this quote by this woman named Megan Hart the other day that says, "The world has always tasted like the scent of fresh ink and soft paper to me, like a newly written poem." So this quote probably doesn't make much sense to you now, but it's Megan who said this quote has this neurological condition called synesthesia, so she interacts with the world differently. And I think this condition is really interesting. So it's not a common condition, but I think it really is interesting to learn about. It's important for us to realize that not everybody sees the world in the same way, and that some people may have a different perspective, and it may actually be a physical thing like it is with synesthesia. So through my volunteer experiences at a nursing home, I met a man and he claimed to have synesthesia, and I've never heard about this before. He explained to me that he could hear colors and taste certain phrases, and at the time I thought he was just crazy. But I did some research and I looked it up, and synesthesia is an actual condition, and I think it was really unique and interesting to hear about, so I thought I would share the knowledge. So today I want to talk about some of the different types of synesthesia, the mechanism behind it, and then introduce you to some notable people, some specific cases of people with synesthesia. But before I jump to a more detailed description, I want to tell you about the types. So synesthesia is this condition where there is this interaction, this linkage, somehow the senses are connected. So for example, you may smell a color, or you may taste a number, or hear a color. And whenever you think of these colors or numbers, you associate it with a certain smell. So this condition can manifest in many different forms, and I won't be able to cover all of them, but some of the most important notable ones I will go through today. So one of the most one is grapheme color synesthesia, and this is where a person associates individual letters or numbers with a specific color. So for example, someone with this condition may see the letter A in red and the letter B may be blue whenever they're spelling or looking at the alphabet. Another common form is sound to color synesthesia, and this is where a specific sound triggers some sort of color visualization. So these colors in this condition, they usually appear in some sort of shape. So someone with this type may smell a flower and instantly think of a red square. So the other type is personification, and this is where a person will associate some sort of letters, objects, things with a certain, emotions, be like that the chair is rude, or the letter A is rude, and things like that. So next, now that you know about some of the common forms, I want to share with you some of the most interesting current research on the topic. Not a lot of research has been done on synesthesia, so many of the details, especially things like the mechanism, are not entirely known, but we're beginning to develop some ideas about what's going on there. So according to Grossenbacher and Lovelace in a study, one of the most common theories is that there's some sort of cross-interaction among different areas of the brain. So essentially what this means is that there's too much communication going on between these sensory brain regions. And this could be a result of lack of synaptic pruning. So when you're young, the synapses that form in your brain may not get pruned as well, so you may just have too many things going on. Another theory, which was proposed by Hubbard and Ramachandran, is that the synesthesia is a result of disinhibited feedback, where the amount of inhibition between sensory systems is decreased. So essentially it's not, instead of there being too much, the disinhibition is actually being decreased, which means barriers are being broken down and more signals are going through where it's supposed to be actually inhibited. So now that you have a pretty good idea of what synesthesia is and how it works, I will tell you about a couple of notable people who you may not have heard of, but I think they're interesting, but these people have claimed to have it. So there are a couple of well-known people, especially artists, who've claimed to have the condition. I think it's interesting. It's common kind of in the artist realm. But it's important to keep in mind that synesthesia hasn't been, technically diagnosed in these people. It's just the things that they say that they makes us think that they have synesthesia. So one famous synesthete is composer and songwriter Duke Ellington, and he was quoted, there's this quote that he said that makes us think he has synesthesia, and it states, "I hear a note by one of the fellows in the band, and it's one color. I hear the same note played by someone else, and it's a different color. When I hear sustained musical tones, I see just about the same colors that you do, but I see them in textures. So here, he has quite a few different forms of synesthesia. Another notable character is Geoffrey Rush, who was a famous theater actor. He won many awards, including Academy Award for Best Actor, an Emmy Award, and a Golden Globe Award. So it's suspected that he suffered from personification type of synesthesia because he associates moods with days of the week, such as Thursdays being happy and Tuesdays being energetic. So that's it for now. I think it's interesting to try to imagine how a person with synesthesia sees the world, but the truth is that it's really hard for me to understand, and I may never understand exactly how these people see the world. So I've shared with you today about some general information, some of the potential mechanisms behind it, and then some notable synesthetes, which is what we call someone with synesthesia. And I just want to leave you with one last thought. And the world may not taste like the scent of fresh ink like it does for Megan Hart in the quote that I started off with, but what's important to understand is that these people out there understand that there are people out there whose reality is like tasting numbers of the alphabet or hearing sounds, and it's just an interesting thought to think about.